Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about The Devil's Whisper, a 2017 psychological horror movie. Although some outlets say that it came out in 2019, but I'm gonna go by the source that says 2017. This is an American Indonesian movie, which is kind of interesting because the movie centers around a Latino Mexican family. And Latinos are not Indonesian. So that's kind of interesting that it's an Indonesian movie. Now, it could be because of the director, Adam Rip, who I've never heard of before. I have no idea what race this man is. So maybe he's mixed with Indonesian, maybe, I don't know. But he wrote and directed this movie. And apparently it's based on a true story. Okay. And so I've never ever heard of this movie before. But you can watch it on Tubi for free, and apparently is out on DVD. So it must have been like a direct-to-streaming or direct-to-DVD movie, one of those two. Most likely direct-to-streaming, probably. And so it's about 80 minutes long, maybe 90, something like that. And the only reason why I even heard and watched this movie is because of one of the actresses that is in the movie, Tessie Santiago. So if you've ever watched my channel, then you know there's a show I've covered before called Queen of Swords. And Tessie stars in that show. It's basically a female version of Zorro. And I really enjoyed it back in, when did it come out? 2000 or something like that? It was a Canadian show, but sadly because of low ratings, it got canceled, and because it was too comparable to Zorro, it got them in a little hot water along down the way. And so, I remember when I was looking for Queen of Swords on my television, you can search it and then the stars will come up. So I started to search up what other projects Tessie was in, because I didn't even know she was still acting, because the last thing I saw her in was The Cell 2, which is a sequel to The Cell, but it was a direct-to-DVD movie, and I remember I watched it on YouTube. So I'm all looking through her profile, I'm like, man, the stuff she's been in I've never heard of before, and it sucks because I want to see her in more stuff, and she looks phenomenal. She has not aged a bit. And so as I'm searching, I find 2 movies on Tubi. This one I decided to watch. But sadly, she's barely in it because she plays the mom. So if it wasn't for her, I would have never watched this movie. As for the movie itself, it's pretty good. I gotta give it up. You know what I'm saying? It's basically your typical devil, demonic possession movie where there's an exorcism type thing. So it's basically an exorcism movie, but without all the extreme Hollywood exorcism tropes that makes it fun. It's a solid movie. It's a good movie. It's a bit of an underestimated movie, but it feels like a PG rated version of an exorcism type movie. You need those tropes to help sell this movie and make it effective for horror movie goers, casual goers and stuff, that's what make those type of movies really, really fun and really, really enjoyable. The head spinning, the throwing up, the demonic voice, the levitation, stuff flying around the room, Conjuring style. You know, like that's what really sells those type of movies. And that would have really helped them boost this movie, in my opinion, so that more people would know about it. Because other than that, it's just a movie that centers around this one teenage boy who is acting kind of oddly. And then all of a sudden, a demon will pop up in the very beginning of the movie. Very brief. And like the rest just follows this teenage boy, and you're wondering what he's going through. And then it hits you with an unexpected turn towards like the end of the movie, and it's just kind of like, no, please don't let this be some type of mental illness type movie and you're disguising it as like a horror movie. I can't take that no more. That Rain movie was like that. This movie called High School Exorcism with Jennifer Stone and Janelle Parrish was that what that was about, and I'm just like, please don't do that. But then hopefully, thankfully, they went back to like the demonic stuff. I'm like, okay, thank God. Thank God. Because, I hate when they have a mental illness movie and then they just pretend like, oh, let's make it into a horror type thing or trick the audience. That twist at the end, I don't see why that was there. That was very unnecessary. Like, you could have made a whole movie about that. I don't get it. It's kind of like the Showgirls movie. Like, why is this part in the movie? Like, thankfully they didn't show that part, but they mention it, and it's just kind of like, why is it there? And I kind of wish it was been brought up earlier instead of just smack dab towards the end, where it's just kind of like you don't have time to process that. But nevertheless, it's in the movie and stuff. And so, if you go watching this movie, it is slightly just a smidgen on the lackluster side, only because this is some type of double demonic type thing, but you don't really see it in the movie because, like I said before, it just focuses on this teenage boy and him going through all these mood swings and other stuff. And the problem with that is, like, and it's probably because this could be like a low budget movie, and so they spent the money on what mattered the most, the CGI towards the end, which really helped the movie out, and it's pretty decent and stuff. I was unable to screen capture any pictures from like Tubi, because now Tubi has changed to where it's almost like Tubi doesn't want you to screen capture anything. Now they have this giant ad in the middle of like the thing when you pause it, and I'm unable to screen capture it. Now I was able to take a picture off the internet, and there's a picture of like when the little girl is possessed, and it's like this demonic, devilish looking demon thing with wings, and the picture looks like it's done in CGI. Really, really bad. But in actuality, it's pretty cool looking in the movie. And so, like I said before, it's probably like a low budget movie, and that's why they didn't have time to do like a lot of cool demonic stuff and tropes. Because it's one of those things that where you barely see the demonic thing. It's nothing but a bunch of like people interaction, and then at the very end of the movie, in the third act, this is when all the horror movie killings and CGI stuff starts to happen, all one right after another, just like crammed in at the very end. And I do hate that because of the simple fact I want to see that all throughout the movie, but sadly it's not like that. If I would have to say anything, this feels more like a television show, like The Exorcism that was on Fox, or say like a TV movie, because of the way it's stylized and everything. Now the acting is very, very solid. I just wish Tessie was in the movie a whole lot more. I just want to see Tessie and stuff. Like I love myself some Queen of Swords. So the movie stars that of a teenage boy named Alejandro, who they call Alex, and he's played by Luca Orel. I think that's how you say his name, last name Orel. And he's studying to be like a priest or a pastor or something like that. He's Catholic. His family's highly religious. He's a little bit of a goody goody two shoes, but has a little bit of like, bad boy angst, like, drinking with his friends. It was his friends say it was his idea to like spy in their friends like window as she's undressing and record them, and as that's going on he decides to stop them. So he has that goody goody boy nature, but a little bit of a bad boy nature to him. And so like you spend the majority of the movie, the first beginning, like 20 minutes, seeing him, like, building him up as like this really nice, goody goody person, highly religious with his family, very respectful, and, going to church, but, he's confessing his sins and, stuff like that. And like he's in like the garage or something, and all of a sudden he randomly finds like a key strapped to like a part of like somewhere down in the garage, and randomly just finds a box in a hidden compartment, and it's just kind of like a little too convenient and random, but whatever. And so he can't get it open, so him and his dad, they decide to use the bandsaw to open it up. And I'm just kind of like, why are you cutting it down the middle? If there's something rattling around in the box and you cut down the middle, you could cut it. Just cut the sides, but whatever. And inside is a silver cross. And it belonged to his grandfather. So his father let him like wear it. And then all of a sudden, like a couple of strange things start to happen. The light outside is flickering, and then this like really skinny, almost tall, bald-headed, demonic figure that's kind of grayish just appears out of nowhere, and it causes him to throw up. So I guess he has a weak stomach, or maybe he's hungover, who knows, And so his parents, his mom is upset. Now his mom is played by Tessie Santiago, a Cuban Spanish actress, and like she plays Lucia, I think that's her name. And I'm trying to remember what the father's name is. I want to say is Marcus or Marcos. I'm trying to think of his last name. Ferez or something like that. I can't remember. But like she's pissed at her husband. And I mean she's pissed and everything. Because like simple fact that he gave that cross to like his son, and it belonged to Lucia's father, and like Lucia does not like that, and we don't know why, but she's very, very pissed at like her father. But we see a picture of the grandfather with her inside like her son's room. Now they have a daughter too, and I'll get to her towards the end of the movie. And so like it's weird. Like as soon as he wore this cross, this is when all the weird stuff starts to happen. His personality's starting to shift. When he gets angry, he cusses. His mom doesn't like that. And like there's a girl that he likes at school. It's the girl that they spied on originally. And so when he's hanging out with his friends, he has like 3 friends, and they're kind of like, the boys will be boys, teen angst type thing, you know. They drink, they cuss, they flick each other off, and you know, like they call each other names just for like the fun of it and everything. And when at a party, he sees the girl he likes kissing this boy, or at least playing with him and stuff, and he doesn't like it. And he literally just beats the snot out of that dude. And then he takes the dude's car and drives off with it to where he gets arrested. And more you see his personality shift to where he has a major attitude. And when his parents bail him out, he's just cussing up a storm at his parents. And the boy can do some good cussing. Now, I appreciate the dialogue and the heavy tone of cussing in this movie because the actor can really sell it. And not only that, but like it sounds so genuine. Like most of the time when people cuss and drop F-bombs in the movie, it sounds fake, but this sounds real. And so they get him some counseling, some therapy, and it turns out that he drew bad pictures when he was younger. So they was all like, oh, this is happening again. And so he would draw kind of like this monster like type thing and like his pictures and stuff. And this is when they hit you for like the loop at the end of the movie. They assume that he's not possessed by a demon, that he's starting to remember something that happened to him when he was 4. Apparently, his grandfather sexually assaulted him at the age of 4, and those repressed memories are coming up and causing him to act out. I'm all like, well, this took me for a loop I was not expecting. And why is this in the movie? I'm like, oh no, don't let this be no mental illness type thing. But no, it's not like that. His head is like not spinning around, but kind of like jerking around. He's acting kind of like pissy. He's acting like weird. And then it happens. All 3 of his friends randomly die one by one in the most like weird type of ways and stuff. Not necessarily weird, just kind of unexpected. So yes, there is a demonic force behind all this. And so as he's home and everything and with his family, like all of a sudden, like the lights go out in the home and he's with the girl he likes there. And his mom notes that only their house lost power. And then the demon shows up, or the devil, whatever it is. And like when the dad shines a flashlight on it, it disappears, it knocks the dad out. It's doing this demonic thing. It possesses the little girl, his sister. So like he tells his mom he needs his like cross because like, you know, it's the only thing protecting him and all this other stuff. And so she gives it to him, and it's weird because the cross belongs to a person who's like bad, but whatever. Anyway, the daughter, not daughter, but yeah, the sister comes in, the little girl, and she is played by, trying to remember her name, Allison Fernandez. Now, she's a little girl in this movie, but you know, this has been a couple of years ago, and she's actually 20 now. She was in that Disney Channel thing called Upside Down Magic. And so she comes in, and the demonic thing has taken over her body to where she has like a knife and she's cutting her arms, and there's blood dripping down it, and then you see this demonic figure with wings emerge itself over her body in a really cool kind of way. But then, like, you know, the little demon thing decides, okay, well, I'm gonna cut the little girl's throat and everything and have her do it herself. And they actually show the imagery. The little girl put the knife near her neck. I'm like, holy crap, they went there. And so the Luca is all, not Luca, but Alex and everything, he's all like, no, take me and don't take my sister and blah, 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 stuff like that, you know, because he knows that demon thing wants him. So next thing you know, he clutches to like his cross and he starts repeating like a Bible verse over and over again. And then the little demonic thing kind of like explodes or whatever. And so everything's like, normal now. And I'm all kind of like, that's all it took was like, like I kind of wish it would have been more kind of like the exorcism movie where it's like, yeah, you say like the Bible verses and everything, but you have to say it more and more and it doesn't work at first. You have to use holy water and stuff like that. Anyways, at the very end of the movie, you see the little girl and she sleep in her bed, and you just happen to see Alex standing near the doorway looking at her very evil like, which means you know he didn't banish like the demon thing away. Like it still went in, actually it went inside him like he asked and everything. It spared his sister and it went inside of him. And the movie ends, and of course so far there's no sequel and everything, and probably never will be. And so, like I said before, this isn't a bad movie. It's, pretty solid, but it's pretty watered down and everything. I think if they would have had more, like, excitement in the movie and more tropes and stuff like that, they really could have done something really cool and, like, really special. And maybe they could have got that sequel. Now, wasn't that spooky? All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.